Welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. Make sure you check out my website, Tuddle.net. That's Tuddle with two D's, Tuddle.net. Now, Vulture, my producer, has been getting me a lot of guests on, and a lot of people are like, oh, you got to talk to famous people. No, I want to talk to interesting people. I want to talk to people that can connect with what's going on in our world right now. And I found this guy really, really interesting when Vulture brought it to me because I want to pick his brain here. Scott Milne. It's Scott Milne, right? Because I hear that the E is silent.
That's correct, Tuddle. You got it right.
All right. So, and you're the author of the book, Win the War on COVID-19. Where can people find that book? Is it available online?
Yes, it's available on Amazon, soon to be an audio book as well. Kindle is now live. So the book is live on Amazon, easy to find.
So I gotta ask though, we've only been dealing with this, probably it seems a lot longer, but it's only like 9, 10, 11 months right now that we've been dealing with it. How do you turn around a book that quickly?
Excellent question, Tuddle. I had a forewarning of what was coming. I'm a facility engineer and I'm a student of the super virus. I'm also certified for air quality control and being able to kill bacteria and virus. When I saw this happening in China, I was rather concerned that it would be coming here. And I got a forewarning because I do so much business with LED lighting suppliers in China. They've become my friends, these people, and they told me what was going on about their factories closing in December. I anticipated things, but I was waiting in March for the news to talk about the subjects we're going to talk about today. And when there was so little coverage about how to kill or destroy virus, I thought it was essential to get this book together quickly.
Now, okay, if you think about things that kill viruses, okay, bleach, alcohol, stuff like that, stuff that we've had around for a while. Why is that not our go-to thing right now?
Well, I guess I should turn that question around and say, how do you know that bleach and alcohol kills this virus?
Well, pretty much. A lot of these newer zoonotic diseases that are coming out, like, chronic wasting disease is one that they're kind of worried about right now. That could be the next one to be able to skip from animals to humans. And I've heard that they've actually put that virus under a blowtorch and there's still traces of it still alive after that extreme temperatures.
Well, interesting answer and an excellent question. So I kind of answered your question sarcastically because I want to bring attention to the light that the EPA, after 8 months of this virus being here with us, and after 3 months of it being in other nations, the EPA still hasn't tested anything that kills this virus. Now,
why is that? Why is that?
I don't know. I guess it takes some time to kill or to test a killer virus. I'm disappointed. I'm shocked that we haven't had clear instructions on how to, again, eradicate COVID-19. Let me clarify. The EPA has put together a list called the N list, and it's very helpful. They've even put together an N list tool, 300 and some odd products on that list. And just 2 weeks ago, they released the protocols for these companies, some of them I know. They've just released the protocols to test solvent-based solutions against COVID-19. The reason they—
What do you mean solvent? What do you mean by solvent? Explain to people.
Liquid.
Okay, all right.
Or wipes, but again, this N list of theirs, they put it together with products that are known to kill other virus. And that's why they have some confidence that'll probably kill COVID-19. So the N list is an important tool and it's there, and the disclosure is right there in the front of it. These products are known to kill other virus and are likely to help you sanitize your home or business from COVID-19.
Now tell me about I'm seeing a lot of these companies. One of my friends, he was like, when I first heard him say it, he would buy those like I don't even know what you would call it, but it's the machines that spray out the mist, and that's supposed to disinfect things. Is that all just a get rich quick scheme type thing, or do they really work?
Well, I'm familiar with an awful lot of equipment that helps kill, and sanitize and disinfect. And it doesn't surprise me that there's a machine out there that might spray a mist. But that's not, in my opinion, the way to take care of this bugger.
Well,
I'm
what have you found? What have you found that works?
Well, that's what the book is about, Tuddle. The book gets into, a little bit about how this happened to us, why it's out of control, frankly. It talks more about mask wearing and hand washing and distancing. That's important stuff. But it talks about what the CDC won't or doesn't, and that's the crime. There's 4 methods, and I call them advanced molecular sanitation methods. And they need to be studied immediately. There needs to be attention brought to them. And frankly, they need to either create manufacturers or somehow incent our few manufacturers that make this equipment. They need to start cranking it out. I'll give you an example. South Korea just installed 250,000 what they call PCO systems in the ductwork of their buildings there in South Korea. We haven't even
Now,
mentioned
so what is it, like a air filter? When we're talking about stuff like that, we're talking of a filter that would have to be a very fine material that would still allow air to move through, but to be able to catch viruses.
You're right, Tuddle. This is a misconception. Again, we're about to get into these 4 advanced methods of molecular destruction for virus, but many people think that air purification is about filters, thicker filters, moving air through them, lots of energy. That's the old way. Now, those systems still exist, but you're right. You need to get down to a MERV 25 to capture this virus in a filter, and anything that small will clog right away. There are institutions recommending HEPA filtration to try to capture this, but it doesn't necessarily kill the virus. Filtration is not necessarily the answer to dealing with COVID-19.
Okay, now you in the bio here, you talk a lot about UV light. Okay, I live in one of the sunniest places in the whole goddamn country, and we seem to have one of the biggest explosions of coronavirus cases. Can you please explain? You would think living in Florida, UV light would help us.
Excellent question. Now that ties into another section of my book, the short section that talks about immunity. I'm not a homeopathic doctor, but I do know immunity is important. Immunity is brought on with certain supplements, and elderberry, and natural supplements like garlic. But a very important supplement is vitamin D. Vitamin D is gotten from the sun exposure in your skin. So not all of us have an awful lot of time to sunbathe. But I do believe that vitamin D is important right now, and we should be supplementing with all kinds of things: vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin D. That's an important one. Now, there's a group of people, Tuddle, that don't get as much natural vitamin D through the skin as you and I.
Yeah.
You likely can guess immediately what that group of people is. How about American Indians? They've been hit by this. How about, now this is just a theory, frankly, but we all need to be supplementing right now, and vitamin D is a good one, especially for those of us that have dark skin pigment, because we might not be absorbing as much natural vitamin D from the sun. Now, you've just introduced the first of these 4 methods that I want to get into, and it's called UV light. UVC spectrum, to be specific. And you're right, Tuddle, UV light comes from the sun. And that's one of the reasons that outdoor activities are determined to be like 25 times less dangerous than indoor activities.
Mhm.
Indoor, there's no natural ozone, which we're going to talk about soon. Outdoor, there are low levels of ozone at all times. Outdoor, there's plenty of UV light. Whether it's the UVC spectrum, sure, we're getting some of that. The important thing to understand, though, is that we have mechanisms and devices that create the elements we're about to talk about. And the first one is UVC spectrum.
Okay, but now can before we get into all this stuff, now when you write all this stuff, you said you don't have a degree in medical field or anything like that. So do you personally have to get everything checked out by a licensed like virus doctor or a general practitioner? Because the one thing that's out there now is a lot of mistruths, what our president likes to call now fake news.
Yes,
How do we know, like, what precautions have you taken when writing this book to back it up with people that work in the medical field?
excellent question. There's been an awful lot of references in the book to experiments with some of the things we're about to talk about from the medical field, and medical studies are referenced. Some of the concepts we're about to talk about are frankly well known and have been with us for decades. And unfortunately, no, there are no certifications or licenses when it comes to virus murder. There is a certification called NORMI, which I had gotten, the National Organization for Mold Remediators and inspection. So we do test buildings for pathogens and bacteria. But the last time something like this happened 100 years ago, our
Yeah.
building, science has completely changed in 100 years, and it doesn't much involve bacteria and virus eradication. I always, as an energy and building consultant, I've always recommended air quality along the list of other things. LED lighting, we work in refrigeration, we've got mechanisms for air conditioning and to reduce the water consumption in a building. And I always offer equipment that will kill bacteria and virus in a building,
Okay.
especially retirement communities.
All right. Yeah.
And
So now, like, what are the best things that we can do? So, like, if I wanted to hire you to come in and your company to, de-virus my building, like, give me a step by step, like, I mean, not like a big explanation, but just kind of give me an idea of like what it entails.
Exactly. And everyone is also afraid that this is too darn expensive. I can't afford to do any of this virus. I don't even want to know about it. Well, that's untrue. I give an example of my book of what I might do for a car dealer. Every business is different, and we talk about that in detail. Every business is unique, whether it's a cruise ship, a manufacturing, a health club, a retirement community, a car dealer. A car dealer right now is probably pretty desperate for people to come through their doors. They're probably spending money on advertising, and they don't really know what to do with their advertising because it's not exactly working like it used to.
Yeah.
People need to feel safe coming into that facility. So I began to lay out what I might recommend and the cost of those things. First, a door entry system. I have one right here. These are not expensive, and there's a few different types of these. You walk up and you put your palm here. You don't have to touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately wakes up and it gives you your temperature, and it green lights you to walk in the building. You don't have a fever. Underneath of it, you put your hand and you get a little hand sanitizer spritz.
All right.
What a perfect time for hand sanitizers to walk into the building.
Now, let me ask you this though. I've been reading a lot of articles where that we might kind of just be shooting ourselves in the foot with the overuse of hand sanitizer right now, and we're heading to a point where we could create a super virus or a bacteria that is resistant.
Well, it's true. This is where super viruses come from. We are so effective now at kind of killing bacteria and virus that the ones that remain after we like spray with Windex, they're pretty tough buggers, and they get together, and those tough buggers make tougher buggers. And yeah, but don't worry about that. Right now, we got to keep our hands clean. We got to keep our hand to face contact. We got to stop that somehow, and we got to break that chain of virus on our fingers. That's where it lives, and it lives on our fingers because we touch everything as we go through the day. So hand sanitizer is important. Find a good one that won't dry out your hands. We got to deal with this right now.
Yeah, I think where we need to go with this is, there's a lot of white trash communities here in Florida. We need to, because those people, they are exposed to all types of stuff. They have some of the healthiest immune systems. I say we take the white trash blood, we synthesize it for a cure, because I don't see any of these white trash, inbred people down here getting sick from the corona. I think they're immune to it.
That's a subject for my next book, I think.
Oh, and also my buddies, the ones that eat ass, they never get sick.
Well, let me ask you about the motorcycle rally in South Dakota.
Oh, yes. I've been talking about that. I've been telling everybody that the goddamn Sturgis is going to be the reason why it's gripping the Midwest right now.
Well, yes, activities like Sturgis are bad. Not a good idea at all. But some of the statistics that came out of Sturgis were not that alarming. You would think that would have been a super spreader event and would have been all over the news.
But how do we really know, though? It's not like, you got to understand when you're doing research on people, there's HIPAA laws, there's HIPAA rules and stuff. Like, how is it possible that our government is getting that information when I thought everything was supposed to be confidential when it comes to medical records and stuff?
Well, it is true. Those guys came from all over the nation. I ride a motorcycle. They touch gas pumps all throughout the country to get there. And motorcycles don't go very far on a tank of gas. A lot of gas pump touching and gas station doors. And it's a little inconvenient to be lubing up with hand sanitizer in a motorcycle. And you got your leather gloves, and it's just not cool. But my point is, those folks were exposed to massive outside air and low levels of ozone the entire time, getting there and being outdoors. We're going to talk about ozone because that's one of the important concepts covered in the book.
Okay.
But before we were answering an important question about that car dealer. So can I get back into that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you walk into the car dealer and they could put this on their television commercial, right? You don't even have to talk about a device like that. You just show it, right? And now people feel a little different, a little better about that indoor environment. Now, what else do they need? Now, their employees might have masks on. They might have plexiglass on their desk. They can do much better than that. They need air purifiers in there, the type we're going to talk about, probably 2 of them. It's about a $1,200 investment. They should be disinfecting that place with a fog disinfectant. That's also a possibility.
How long does this stuff last? How long does this stuff last? Like, you come in, am I going to have to pay you every single week to come in and debug the place, or how long does it last?
That's the problem. People think there's only one way to actually, as you say, debug. I call it disinfect.
Okay.
And that means literally white suits, machines, and spray. And I'll tell you what, that spray or that fog isn't supposed to just go a little bit into the environment. It's supposed to wet all surfaces. And those surfaces are supposed to remain, to kill virus, they're supposed to remain wet for 10 minutes. That's what the EPA says. What How is that actually even feasible? Imagine yourself in a school, this white suit. I do this. I, have the credentials and the product availability to go in and spray space. I'd
Mhm.
rather do it a different way that we're going to talk about. But that is the one way spaces are debugging, like a
All
health.
right, so let's get into ozone. I'm interested about ozone.
All right, man, all over the place. Now, ozone is actually the fourth of the four things that I wanted to talk about. Should we go in sequence here and nail them?
I mean, just, yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so let's get into UV quickly. Okay.
Okay.
UV spectrum. It's actually UVC spectrum. Now, this is a big deal now because LED chips, LED lights. They've been using UV light for 30 years to kill virus in our municipal water. We know it works. I mean, our water percolates through UV tubes that use UV to kill virus and bacteria on the way to our house. It works. But now, because of LED, we can put UV in all kinds of places. Certainly under cabinets. I've got a UV toothbrush holder. There's UV wands. I've got a UV desk lamp right here, sanitizing everything around my desk. And that's mostly possible because of UV LED. Now with UV light, you're not supposed to look into it directly. It's not very good. Good for your eye. So that's why we kind of hide it under cabinets, anywhere. And now they're working with UV spectrums that isn't so harmful for the eyes of the skin. And the more UV instruments that come out, the better. It's not the answer, Tuddle, because the virus has to be like within 2 to 3 feet of that UV light spectrum to be eradicated. So that's not the answer, but it's certainly perfect for things that are close to you, like that desk lamp or the toothbrush thing or the wand. And there's all kinds of great UV tools now. The second one I'd like to get into and talk, unless you have a question about UV light.
No. I have a time frame that I have to keep the interview to. So I'm not trying to rush you or anything. I just want to be able to get everything in by the time we're done with the interview.
We will, because the second one is quick. It's not directly an eradication method. It's called negative ionization. Negative ionization comes from one of these air purifiers that I recommended for the car dealer. Mm-hmm. What it does is it encourages floaters to land. The best example of this is when you crack the Venetian blind.
Do you have an invention to get floaters out of the toilet?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm just asking, man, because that's like $1 million idea. I say you drop the virus deal and find a better way to get poop down a toilet that are floaters.
There are a million inventions around virus and disinfection. We can
my dad used to make me grab the pull net I used to get leaves out of. I would use it for dual functions.
Well, I'd be excited to know there's a section in my book about virus contagion from fecal matter.
Oh.
Back to negative ionization. When you crack the Venetian blind, you see all those floaters in the air, right? That is skin cells, dust mite, fecal matter, and dust mite parts. And they won't land. They're resistant to landing because they have no gravity. And there's this little ionic charge in the room that prevents them from actually wanting to stick to the wall. Mm-hmm. With negative ionization, you can reverse that charge. And like magnets, right? They're resistant, but when you flip it around, boy, it sticks just fine. Negative ionization does that in a room. It's not hard. It doesn't take much energy to create it. You'll never notice it. And virus will grab onto those floaters that you can see, because virus are 20 times smaller than that.
Yeah.
Grab onto those floaters and they'll float around with them for a long time. That's why this virus is airborne, man. And anybody who doesn't say that is wrong. It is airborne, and these viruses can float on these things for quite a period of time and being resistant to landing. That's why every indoor space should be working with negative ionization to help clear the airspace of allergens.
Yeah.
Unless there's any questions about that. We
No,
can
no,
move
no.
on. Okay, cool. The third one is very important. And we touched on it in the beginning of the interview. It's what they're installing in South Korea. It's called PCO, or photocatalytic oxidation.
Mhm.
And it's created by this honeycomb cell. And they make different sizes of this. Now, these are in these home-based air purifiers, and they're also in ductwork of manufacturing plants. But what's in here is a specially tinted UV light, a small one, very powerful one. And as air moves through this honeycomb, the UV light actually kills anything moving through there. It's actually very effective. And it pushes into the room hydroxyl radicals. What we're
Okay.
doing, scrambling molecules. We can freak out molecules with one of these cells easily. Those molecules separate and they don't know what to do, and they're freaking out, and they come back together as elements that we want and we need. One of them is H2O2. You know what that is. It's in your medicine kit. It's hydrogen peroxide, right? There's armies of men diluting this stuff and spraying it into the buildings. You can make it on the molecular level. You don't have to spray down a building. And there's no warnings against this. The EPA has studied this and has not deemed that it's at all harmful to people to be around. So if you're on a restaurant, you can put a little hydroxyl radicals, and there's this family of them. Only one of them is H2O2. And it doesn't last very long. Once H2O2 is created molecularly, it also reforms into O2, oxygen, or H2O, moisture, a much more stable element. So H2O2 will get into a space, disinfect, and then kind of convert back into something that we need anyway, which is oxygen.
Now, what? So that was the third one. What is the fourth one that we're getting into?
The fourth one you want to talk about is ozone. And ozone is critically important because there's experiments happening right now with ozone against this virus.
Okay, but I mean, everybody's heard of ozone as what is in our atmosphere. It keeps, all the harmful rays and radiation from outer space from completely getting to us. So, like, is it practically the same thing?
Yes and no. So it has a dichotomy, ozone. Ozone, again, is O3, a fairly unstable element that we can make rather easily. Doesn't take much electricity. Ozone O3 is made after a rainstorm, a thunderstorm. This is why people hang out their sheets after a rainstorm. There's this natural difference in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I've read about this. It's that pungent type smell you get like right before and after it rains, because it's the moisture from all the dead decaying stuff that's in the ground, I think, from what I've read from that. You get that rain smell, how people always say you get that rain smell.
Oh yeah, it's excitement in the atmosphere. It's O3. It's molecules that have been freaked out and they've come back as O3. Now again, an unstable element, O3 wants to go back to O2 or H2O. But O3 is, I feel, nature's miracle because it's provided by nature. And I understand it's why our sidewalks aren't green. Low levels of ozone are in the environment all the time. Now, here's the dichotomy. It's also a low level pollutant. Some people watching this show know there's dangers to ozone, and there is. It's possible respiratory dangers. It could affect asthma. It could affect headaches. They'll warn you about it on the news. On a hot day, ozone levels are high. Stay inside today. Ozone comes from emissions from trucks and cars. So there's this weird dichotomy that you don't want too much, but you can use it in indoor environments where there's none. There's no ozone in indoor environments. It just, again, it's trapped and it goes back to O2 or H2O. So if you create it in indoor environments at the right time for the right reasons, you can get some amazing disinfection from it. O3 is known to kill SARS, Ebola, HIV. We haven't found a vaccine for HIV. O3, a natural element, is known to kill it.
Huh.
MRSA, staph, O3 can help with all of it. It keeps people healthier if you use it, again, at the right levels, the right times. For instance, a bowling alley. Why couldn't you blast ozone in that bowling alley after the last employee leaves?
No, I mean,
That
yeah,
is
I
how-
mean, yeah. I mean, I agree, but I mean, it's
Almost-
always going to get dirty again.
Yes, it is. It's going to get dirty again. And that's why we would want to use hydroxyl radicals during the day when people are around. The EPA has issued warnings about ozone. They feel that it could be dangerous. Let's say there's this level of 1 to 10. After a rainstorm, you might be at 2. We can create ozone in buildings at 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, but you'll smell it at about 3 or 4. And you'll know that you're in a space of ozone. You wouldn't want to be in there. You would know not to be in there. And you would turn it down or open a window and it would go right away. So ozone is pretty neat that way. You can create low levels of ozone in the spaces that you occupy, as long as you don't have much asthma. But you can create low levels of ozone indoors and you'll know if it gets too high because you'll definitely smell it.
Well, Scott, man, I think this was very, very informative for my audience. I greatly appreciate your time. Tell everybody how they can check out your book and learn more about your product and your service.
Yeah. I have a few websites. My company is Rocky Mountain Efficiency Company, and we help building owners understand how to save on every utility. You can find our virus tools and our air purifiers at virusdepot.com. The book is there as well.
Very nice. I mean, how have the book sales been right now? I mean, you would think that a lot of people are very interested in the topic.
Yeah, it's true. People are interested in the topic and they're starting to happen. So I appreciate shows like yours. Now,
Nope.
if you have one more minute, there's
Yeah,
something
go ahead.
ozone that you should know.
Mhm.
And it's featured in my book. There was a medical experiment done in Madrid, Spain, Paloma Hospital, and it's fully referenced in the book. And again, I'm not saying ozone is any type of miracle therapy, and that's what separates me from the medical community. I am not saying this is a therapy. I'm saying this needs more study. What they did was they took ozone, bubbled it through saline solution, simple saline solution, and administered 600 units or bags of this to people that were sick. They came into this hospital because they could no longer stay home. They were near ventilators, near death. And they were treated with conventional meds and this saline solution. They began to get better immediately. The inflammation dropped. They took them off of conventional meds 3 to 5 days. In 5 days, half the patients were released. In 10 days, all the patients were released. Died. Nobody needed a ventilator. And even the doctors and nurses were taking this as a prophylactic. Now, I'm saying that I'm looking for universities to study this because I don't think it's going to get any attention from the pharmaceutical industry. If you can't pop it or shoot it, they can't make their trillions from it, and they may have no interest at all in a therapeutic remedy that is natural, like ozone. So I'm begging the universities in my book to study this now. It's needed, and I believe it has value.